I'm Nola Simon. I'm the host of the Hybrid Remote Center of Excellence, and thank you for joining me for today's episode. I had this idea that I would interview our town government about a new community center that's been opened because, surprise, in the town of Georgina, in the middle of nowhere, we have a recording studio that's set up for video recording, that's set up for music recording, and you know what else you can record there? Podcasts. Any podcasters who live in the town of Georgina? Oh, yeah, me. Apparently, I'm not the only one, though, because I thought I might be, but they told me yesterday that they'd had 2 other people inquire as well. So there's one other guy and a kid. Apparently, it's a hotbed. I'm making fun. For those of you who don't know where the town of Georgina is, it's a small town, it's a small community, it's a group of multiple towns, actually, made up primarily of Keswick, Sutton, and Pefferla, and all points in between, and including Eudora. Anyways, geographically, it's quite big. In terms of demographics, it's very small. Maybe 30,000? I could be wrong. Anyways, I've lived here for 50 years. I moved up here when I was 18 months old. For those of you who don't really know and can't envision this, it's on Lake Simcoe. If you've ever been to Sibyl's Provincial Park, which is the nearest park to Toronto, I grew up across the street from the park, to give you context. And so I've lived here all my life. This is where my family was. My husband's family moved up in 89 on the promise of the extension of the 404. My father-in-law died in 2015 after it had been open just a few months. So to give you that context of how slowly things happen in the town of Georgina, this community center has been under discussion for well over a decade. And anyways, I thought that this would be really exciting because, well, as much as I enjoy the idea of having a walking track that I can go to when the weather's really crappy, and a pool that I could literally cycle to or walk to, although realistically I probably will drive, the podcasting studio is really what captured my attention because I really just need a laptop and a microphone, which I have here. The dog sometimes barks during the middle of my podcast. My daughter's room is right beside me, so there are certain hours where I can't actually record when the music or the moment strikes me, because if I talk early in the morning, I wake her up. There are reasons why doing this away from home would actually be beneficial, both for my family and for the podcast. But I thought this was a way to actually support the town for investing in technology, because when I walk through that community center, sure, the pool is nice, the gym is nice, it's got a fireplace, it's a good place to hang out that we don't really have in Georgina. Like at 6 o'clock in the morning, I have somewhere to go now that's actually not a restaurant. And that's cool, I gotta tell you. Having a third space where I can actually leave my house and not actually have to spend money is nice. There's meeting rooms there I could book, I could pay for, and they're all AV equipped. And that's where I thought, oh, okay, cool. I'd really love to do a podcast and interview town staff about what went into these decisions, how they designed it, and how they are going to grow the programs to teach skills. And I was all excited about this. And I thought they would be too. But this is what this podcast is about. How do you actually shift mindsets? Because the town and the local politicians are used to communicating with the media in a certain way. So there have been press releases, there's been social media, there has been local Rogers TV interviews with the mayor and different staffs and tours and whatnot. I haven't really watched any of that stuff. I don't care because I don't do traditional media anymore. I really don't. If I need to know something about the town, then I go to their website and I scope it out then. And I got to tell you, the majority of the talk that's been happening about the community center has been happening on Facebook. I haven't gone to TikTok to really see if there's anything happening there, but I will be putting something on TikTok because what I'm seeing is that in local politics, they are not moving with the times in terms of where the news is actually happening. And this is related to the shutdown of traditional media. When I was growing up, we had a paper called The Advocate. It was called the Georgina Advocate. And I sometimes managed to get into The Advocate for kid stuff. So, like, I remember being in the paper for brownies and guides and the Santa Claus parade and skating and awards. The entertaining thing is the reporter who actually covered me when I was a small kid ended up being the school trustee. So when I actually graduated from high school and I came back from university to get all my awards for my final graduation, she was the person who presented my diploma and all my awards. And I hated her with a passion. It was always ironic. She was one of those people, and she was probably just doing her job. Dorothy Kane, for those of you who remember, she would always tell me to smile. And yeah, sure. But she was annoying in the way that your aunt that you never see always tells you to smile as soon as she sees you. She's the type of person who would tell you to smile and you didn't want to smile just because she was annoying. Anyways, so yeah, Dorothy Kane, who was the bane of my existence as a child, became the person who awarded me all my awards. And in my final actual diploma recipient, she's the person giving me my diploma. It was irony upon irony. Anyways, the Georgina Advocate was part of a wave of local papers that was finally closed. And the Georgina Advocate did get a lot better from the time I was a kid. I remember in grade 5, when they were doing manual typesetting, part of my English assignment was actually to go through the paper and find grammatical errors. And technology did definitely help the Georgina Advocate become a better paper, but there was almost never anything in it much. It was really just an excuse for advertisement, for local news, and a soapbox really for politicians to announce initiatives and changes that they were trying to work on. But the mindset in Georgina really hasn't evolved much beyond the Georgina Advocate and Rogers News. And this is where I think it's a little bit funny because I inquired about interviewing somebody from the town about a month ago because the grand opening was always supposed to be March 2nd. So I had sent an email basically saying, hey, I'd really like to promote and advocate for the community center, get people interested in the different things that they could build and learn because there's all kinds of community programs, the typical yoga and aquafit and all those types of health programs. Tai Chi, I'm going to sign up for Tai Chi. Woohoo! In Georgia, that's exciting. But there's also a 3D printer. There's a Cricut machine. There's drums in the recording studio. There's a keyboard, right? There's all kinds of different skills that can be developed. There's a kitchen, right? Like you could literally rent out a kitchen and do like a live demo of teaching somebody how to cook and record it. So it's cool. It really is. You're limited to how you're using the imagination. Now, the town, I went to the communications person that was designated to deal with this, and she referred me to the head of the library, who then referred me to the community person, who then referred me to I think we're waiting for the tech person who's in charge of teaching people how to use all of these skills and in machines. The best part is the software hasn't even been installed in the computer that's in the lab. So everything else is ready to go except the podcasting equipment or the recording equipment. And this is the kicker. Rogers has to donate time to the town to teach the staff how to use it. So I started my career at Cantel, which was the cell phone division that Rogers later bought, and that became Rogers Cell Phones. That's where I started my career. So the irony that my podcasting episode on the community center to advocate about how we can use the new facilities is all dependent on Rogers donating time to teach staff is making me laugh so much. But this is where I want to really highlight the communication strategy. Nobody really understands how to work with podcasting in new media. I'm an individual citizen. I'm not a media empire, but I'm also not a newbie. I have 80 episodes under my belt, and we've covered topics that are appearing in and international media, right? If I hadn't picked up a topic on AI bias in recruiting, I don't know that a lot of the media that surrounded that would have happened, because I interviewed somebody who's trying to get attention for her concerns about that. And it wasn't really until I did a podcast episode that she was actually able to get other reporters interested in talking about that issue, right? Who knows? You never quite know what the influence you have is, right? So there's no plan, obviously, at the town to deal with media that doesn't look like traditional media. They have no concept how to actually deal with TikTok, with podcasters. Even though I'm quite sure that the mayor has been media trained. I sent her a LinkedIn note last week. I shared and I tagged her in a post. I had reshared something she had shared and sent her a personalized invitation to connect and asked her if she would be on the podcast. And she has yet to respond. This is where you would hope that some training has been invested in getting staff up to speed. Why are we waiting for Rogers to train the library staff to teach the community members? Is Rogers donating that time? Is it official? Is it just somebody who's doing it because they're being nice? The facility is a $50 million facility. Like, the town has invested $50 million into the facility, but there's no training budget. So we're relying on staff to teach the public to become more digitally savvy, but we're at the mercy of what they learned from Rogers. It's just blowing my mind. Anyways, so I had envisioned this as a one and done podcast, but it's going to be a more of a journey. And so that's really what I want to highlight, what we're learning along the way for this is, for one, we need to redefine what media is. We need to understand that social media, podcasting, it's all part of it, right? You don't necessarily amplify your voice just through Facebook. You have to consider TikTok. You have to consider different avenues. And it's not going to be press releases that are going to get the majority of the attention. The negativity that's been going on about Facebook, about the change rooms, because, well, everybody's very confused about the fact that you can't be naked. So it's one change room, there's no division by gender, and you just go into a shower stall or a changing room stall to change. So at any given time in that change room, nobody should be naked. It's drama. It's so entertaining. And honestly, it's a lot more inclusive than most community centers that I've ever been part of. So I really like it. But I actually went to a university. I went to Glendon College. And when I stayed in residence, my washroom, my shower room was all genders. We had stalls. We had individual stalls. Like, nobody was naked in front of anybody else. And that is normal to me. And honestly, I graduated in 94. So that was a long time ago. And we're still just now dealing with this. And the way that the public is reacting to that level of inclusivity is shocking to me. And so there's a real challenge of communication with this, but it's also how we're educating our public servants to really interact with the public and have those tough communications. And quite honestly, I don't see it being done in a way that's really effective. And I think podcasting could actually be a really good way for public servants to really handle this kind of thing because it is long form content that could be repurposed and used in many different ways, but you're getting the full context. Anyways, this is going to be a journey because apparently the software still makes me laugh. Isn't going to be available for a few weeks. They're going to have to let me know when it's actually being installed, but not only that, when they've actually learned how to use it. I really just want your microphones and your padded room. That's really all I need. I don't actually need your Mac. I just really want access to the room to be able to be soundproof and to have access to high quality recording. That's what I want. I really don't need you to train me. I know how to podcast. I know how to do all of that. I don't need Rogers. Sure, there's a video camera. I could use the video camera in lots of different ways to actually train myself and coach myself on speaking and test myself out and see how that looks to actually video myself in full body. There's a green screen. There's lots of stuff I could actually do in there. And that's all cool. I just need access. Give me the equipment. I can run with it. So this is going to be a journey, and it's going to be a lot longer than I expected. So I will do another episode. Hopefully the mayor will respond to me. I've asked for the library to tell me if they're comfortable actually doing an interview. And again, I think this is a great resource to have at my doorstep. I was there this morning at 6 a.m. It's exciting. I'm really thrilled about it, and I see the value in so many different ways. I love that there's a kid who's podcasting in Georgina. I don't know who that kid is, but I love the fact that it even exists because when I was a kid, I didn't have access to any of that stuff. I had Dorothy Kane. Anyways, very different episode for me, but this is where we need to look at the future of communication and public relationships and government, and how government can really be a force for change as well too, but they really need to get up to speed with how the world of work works as well too, and not be dependent on corporations to support them. Anyways, I'm going to go laugh somewhere else, but let me know your thoughts, and I'm excited to teach you all about the town of Georgina and the vagaries that go into being a podcaster in the middle of nowhere.